A very good morning, everybody, and welcome to day 2 of the action from the Barcelona circuit for the Alpine Elf Europa Cup. After a slightly difficult race yesterday when we started behind the safety car because the track was so greasy, and after, well, far less than a lap, only in space of a few corners, we had to go straight back into a safety car when we attempted to begin the race because of 3 cars off the road. Today looks a lot brighter, and I'm pleased to say I think this weather should be now in for the main part for the whole of Saturday, considering after the Alpine Elf Europa Cup race and a few other things, there'll be a 24-hour race here at Barcelona as well. But pretty much in their annual slot, and since the first season of the Alpine Europa Cup, they've been coming back here to Barcelona, to this corner of Spain, for a couple of races. We were a race behind after a delay at Manicourt, which meant their second race in France could not run, so 3 last time out at Dijon, but we're now back on course for a total of 12 races through the course of the year. And yet more points yesterday for Laurens Lecertois compared to Enzo Guerazzi. The two 16-year-olds topped the championship table, and they also finished 1 and 2 in yesterday's race. But unfortunately for Enzo, the youngest driver in the field, it was more points given away to the Spanish/Belgian racer Laurens Lecertois. So the gap now is up to 16 points, and a little bit more work today to do, therefore, for Enzo Guerazzi. Romain Favre is in 3rd position in the championship, ahead of Tim Merrieux, who had a really good race working his way through the field. We'll give you a full rundown, of course, of today's grid. It's a separate grid from yesterday, 2 individual qualifying times. My name's Johnny Palmer, and on a sort of bright early morning, although there's some mist in the air, Bruce Jones, this, I think, is going to be a more solid race, and hopefully the full 25 minutes plus a lap.
To be honest, Johnny, I wasn't really complaining yesterday. The slippery track really produced some fantastic drives, people fighting their way up the order. But yes, it feels as though we're on a different planet here on Saturday morning at the Circuit Barcelona-Catalunya, and the cars look entirely different, with the possibility of a bit of sunshine catching their flanks today. Down on the start-finish straight where they're formed up on the grid, it is all in the shade. You talk of the mist, that's actually just all the moisture from yesterday burning off as the sun gets up in the sky. But some very, very impressive drives. But some of the front runners yesterday, including Jules Goujon, who ended up with a slightly battered front end on the number 35 entry from Chazelle Technology Course Junior, the team that actually wrapped up the team's title yesterday, got that done. We've got another title that could be, or 2 that could be settled today. We'll come to those. But some of the front runners are down in the middle order. Jules Goujon starting down in 9th, 1 place behind one of the driver 3rd in the championship, Romain Favre, starting in 10th. But at the moment, with 3 wins from the past 4 races and starting from pole from this one, certainly 16-year-old Laurens Lecertois is in the driving seats. 134 points to him in the championship. And just in behind, but falling away a little bit by dint of not winning yesterday, is Enzo Guerazzi, the other 16-year-old, first 2 on the front row. Thibaut Bossy, who hasn't done all the rounds of the championship, he missed the opening couple of meetings at Nogaro, then Manicourt. He's been qualifying very well here. He fell down a little bit in the wet running yesterday, but he's starting 3rd again. And Mateo Herrero, on home ground, looking to really, really impress from 4th on the grid.
You get an extra point for pole position, so Lecertois gets that for today's race. There's also an additional point for fastest lap. Jules Goujon got that with a 2:07.5 in yesterday's race, and it was Goujon who was making, well, mid-race progress, although he did lose a spot towards the end of the race. So yesterday's top 6, let's give you, Laurens Lecertois and Enzo Guerazzi. They are going to be starting on the front row for this one as well. Thibaut Bossy will start 3rd, but he's drifted down in the order during the race, finishing in 8th position. So Tim Merrieux for Autosport GP finishing in 3rd position, ahead of Jules Goujon, Luis Meric and Louis José, who could be one to watch today in the 04 car for Race Cars Consulting. 10 laps we managed, though, yesterday, and I expect a great deal more than that today, assuming, of course, everyone can keep it on the island, and that's possibly a bit of an ask because we've got drivers who are in their first season of car racing, and actually qualifying was held in wet weather conditions as well. So this may be the first action of their weekend in the dry, Bruce.
A very good point. So the race, 25 minutes plus one further lap thereafter. So we'll see how it shakes out. Worth pointing out, of course, we've got 3 classes. If you're age 23 or under, you race in the junior class, which is probably 60-70% of the field. If you're between 24 and 44, you're in the challenger class. So the top runner in that is Thibaut Bossy, who's qualified 3rd. And then the Gentleman Cup. If you have 45 or more candles on your birthday cake, you start in that. The best qualifier there is Anthony Fournier. He's 12th overall, and he's sitting in the driver's seat in terms of the Gentleman Class Championship and could wrap it up if he wins today. And his closest challenger, Laurent Richard, who starts from 2 places further down the grid, finishes 5th or lower. Or alternatively, if he finishes 2nd and Laurent Richard does not finish the race, then the championship for the gentleman class is settled here, with the 2 races at the final round at Paul Ricard still to run. But plenty to play for and very, very generous prize money for that. The winner of the gentleman class for the whole season will pocket €15,000, and that's to be put towards running a GT4 class Alpine in the following season. And the overall champion, and at the moment that's Laurence Lessertois in terms of position, they will pocket €40,000. So it's a sizable chunk of a budget to race in GT4 in 2024. But right now, it's all about the business of what's going to happen here and now. The grid's starting to clear, and we've got a great grid, 22 cars. And the dry track, as you say, could be alien territory to some of the drivers on their first visit here to this circuit in Spain.
Slightly errant car on the grid. I wonder whether maybe in the Porsche Challenge race there was some oil spilt on the road. Oh, is that the... No, that's the course car, isn't it?
There's a course car.
I should really know the difference between those things.
In the middle of the grid, it's a white course car. Caught both of us out yesterday several times. No, just once each. But of course, that was going around yesterday principally to check the state of the circuit before it was agreed the race would go ahead, because we had unbelievable rain from 2 o'clock, quite heavy rain, but from 4 o'clock on, it was super busy as the cars were trying to go and qualify for the 24 Hours of Barcelona. But the white course car has number 20 on the screen, just to fool us a little bit. Will be leading the field around. But for the drivers here, they're not looking for where there's grip, or more to the point, they're not looking for where rivers are running across the circuit, as they certainly were yesterday evening when we went out to play.
Hearing that Sami Dari went off during the installation lap, so that's being released from the pits round to the dummy grid. He will be able to take up his rightful position, though, on the grid, which should be 19th.
Yeah, when he started yesterday, he was starting way down the grid yesterday, and he decided above all others he would try slick tyres. It didn't work, unfortunately.
And Pierre-Laurent Figueres has taken the red light at the end of the pit lane, although that to be confirmed, but it may well have been spotted that the car came out a bit too late. Laurence Lessertois and Enzo Garassi on the front row, as mentioned. Thibaut Bossy, can he hold on to 3rd position, something he wasn't able to do yesterday alongside Matteo Herrero, and then it's Romain Brun, Louis Merrick, who came through the order. He will have to do so from 6th position, but he's done it once before this weekend. Leo Jose and Tim Merriot will start from the 4th row for Racecars Consulting and Autosport GP, respectively. Jules Goujon should be a bit higher up than 9th, I would say. So watch the yellow and white car go. Romain Favre, who's right up there in the championship. Then it's Lucas Papin and Anthony Fournier. So starting from 12th position for Fournier, ahead of Ethan Bernard and Laurent Richard. William Gosselin and Adrien Catelin will be on the 16th position, car number 42 for Code Racing Development. We've got Frederic de Brabant, who certainly had an eventful race yesterday, being off the road for a period of time. Pierre-Laurent Figueres, as mentioned, may have a penalty later on in the day. Sami Dari and Pierre Macchi on the 10th row, ahead of Alain Jacono, who ended up in the gravel early on in his number 77 car. Did eventually get going, but only to the pit lane. And Margot Verza in the Autosport GP car completes our 22-car field. This will be race 10 of a 12-race championship. We already have one part of the many championships that run through the course of the season decided. In that, the Teams Championship has gone to Chazelle Technology Course Junior. And congratulations to them, aided, I'm sure, along the way by Laurence Lessertois, one of their drivers, who was very, very happy with yesterday's victory. in the darkness because it was much later race in the day than expected because of various delays. So after sunset, that race finally finished.
Well, actually, the driver in second place in the championship, Enzo Guarasci, also races for the team. And each team, you pick points of your two best finishers. So if they've been finishing on the podium between them, no doubt that has helped enormously for their points. But this is the 5th round of the championship, the Alpine Europa Cup for 2023. 2 more races at the final round at Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. Another championship I'll come to shortly as the race is about to start and explain that could be won this morning as well here in Spain.
So it's a rolling start, 25 minutes on the clock, plus the extra lap. We should be done, therefore, inside 30 minutes. The bomb burst from the grid and all sorts of different lines being used from rows 2 and 3. But it's Le Certois with the day-glow yellow door mirrors that has just about got the better start. However, Enzo Guarasci losing ground because slotting its way through. No, Guarasci making the move, I beg your pardon, and across the nose of Thibaut Bossy. 2 abreast, 3 abreast further back. Very easy to run a touch wide. Thankfully, there's some concrete there, but it will be damp after overnight rain, and there was definitely a wide moment there. Now, was that Guarasci or was that Bossy, Bruce?
It was Guarasci going very, very wide. That's why there's dust kicked up into the air now, looking as the cars come from turn 3 along that fairly level straight to turn 4. But pole into the lead of the race, Laurence Le Certois. In behind it, there were lots of challenges, but I just want to see how far back Enzo Guarasci has dropped, because that would have been a big, big wide moment. He must be thinking, it's probably still damp on the curbs. Yes, he's back in 3rd place. Thibaut Bossy with the principally red and black car goes into 2nd place. He's doing a very, very good job. In fact, they all are to get all 22 cars through the first few corners.
A couple of cars wide there. Matteo Herrera and Romain Brun struggling to get the car stopped at turn 5. Brakes will still be very cold, and the Michelin tyres. The difference from yesterday's race, they'll all be on the slick tyre this time around, but nevertheless it needs some working up to temperature. You've got to make sure you're stressing the sidewalls as much as possible on this opening lap. Especially because you have a reasonably long straight in this mid part of the lap between turns 9 and 10, and then you hit the brake pedal and just hope that something happens. As through the left and the right flick, then Laurence Le Certois continuing to lead ahead of Thibaut Bossy and Enzo Guarasci with work to do. He has got a quick car, we know, but he's looking for a way by Bossy into the closing stages of this opening lap. No chicane this year, so the much faster approach through turn 13.
Well, a big, big bunch from lead all down to penultimate place, because Pierre-Alain Figuier is about 3 corners behind, very delayed with that problem coming out of the pits. But fantastic opening lap from Laurence Le Certois. 1.2 seconds clear of Thibaut Bossy. Louis Merrick, who started 6th, he made a move even before the first corner. He is now up to 3rd. That's going brilliantly for him. Car number 24, there it is at the front of that trio. And the driver who's most frustrated will be the driver of 136, the championship challenger, trying to go round the outside. There isn't really much of an outside at the first corner. Has to back off. In fact, drive off. That is what we'd call track limits exploitation from the rather desperate Enzo Guarasci there. Just desperate not to make a mistake at this turn, turn 3. And another driver running super, super wide. It's extraordinary. It's like they get pulled to the outside by some force field.
Well, when you know you've gone too deep into turn 1, then that's the route you have to use that extra bit of road so you're not then unsafely rejoining. But it's questionable as to whether Guarasci actually still gained ground. Well, no, actually, he hasn't moved up a position, so still tucked in behind Louis Merrick. I was fearful that he might have to give at least one of these places back again. But that route, it's a bit like the second chicane at Monza. You're told in the driver's briefing, if you've messed up the first corner, you have to then use that proper escape road.
Yeah, well, any moment I expected Tim Merriot to make a passing manoeuvre. He's car 21, the white one with the red and blue stripes up over the roof. But we've got this two-car breakaway grouping of Laurence Le Certois, second and a bit clear of Thibaut Bossy. Then a gap of another nearly probably 2 seconds by now back to Merrick, Guarasci and Merriot fighting over 3rd place. A little bit of a mistake right down towards the tail of the field.
I think more than a mistake. I think that's a car problem. I'm just trying to work out who has not come through. It's Alan Giacono who has taken a little longer. Although, actually, no, somebody absent further up the field is Romain Brun as well. We haven't got a second sector time for the 87 car. And that seems to have been delayed somewhere. We'll get the leaders back across the line in a moment. Here comes Laurence Le Certois. It's a red and black car in the mirrors, but not like yesterday with Enzo Guarasci. Instead, Thibaut Bossy leading his class, and then a gap back to Louis Merrick, Guarasci and Tim Merriot in this threesome again.
Well, while this is very, very close, a certain irony is yesterday when the track was unbelievably treacherous, the racing was a lot closer because everyone was making mistakes. Is that a mistake or not? But certainly out of third place, Louis Merrick being spun around by Enzo Garacci, and Tim Merrieux says, thank you very much. I will move into third place from fifth, but that was most unfortunate. Car 24, Louis Merrick across the nose.
Do you know what happened?
I do know what happened.
He caught the blend line, and the blend line is full of water. It's like staying off the white lines left and right as well. They're like ice, and that was an honest mistake, yes, but Enzo Garacci, I cannot see any other scenario other than him being penalised either in the race or at the end of it, and poor old Louis Merrick whacked and goes down a number of places. Yeah,
there'll be a big clatter on the door there, so this is all music to the ears of a driver who can't see it. Laurence Lessertois leading the race, 1.5 seconds clear at the front of the field from Thibaut Bossy, but his principal championship challenger, all down to a mistake on the opening lap between turns 1 and 2, getting it a bit out of line, dropping back down to third place behind Thibaut Bossy, and then a couple of sort-outs, and he is possibly going to be taking the steps up to see the stewards after the race, because that unfortunate manoeuvre down into turn 1 has really cost him. And you were spot on, it was Romain Brun who lost so much time for Herrera Racing. We saw him coming slowly up to this point of the circuit from 8 up to turn 9. He's returned to the pits.
New third place car then, Tim Merrieux, who predicted what may be about to happen at the first corner, and he has gained 2 spots on Merrick and Garassi. And I reckon Laurent Richard now runs in 4th position, possibly ahead of Adrien Catelin. So it's all changed there because of the delays at the first corner.
Now, the most important thing, just mentioning Laurent Richard, he is the challenger in the Gentleman's Cup, which is almost in the palms of the hands of Anthony Fournier. Fournier's gone back about 3 positions from the grid, but Laurent Richard now up into 4th place. Wow, he's obviously got the perfect dry setup. He started down, I think, in 15th place. So it was an amazing run. He has to win this class and hope that his challenger, that the overall leader in the Gentleman Cup class, does not come higher than 5th. And unfortunately, at the moment, Anthony Fournier is sitting, well, not unfortunately for Fournier, he's sitting in 2nd place in class with Frédéric de Brabant just behind him. But, oh, wow, what a start from Laurent Richard.
It could be about to go from bad to worse for Enzo Garacci, because there's now a bit of the front of the splitter of the car fouling the front left tyre where the contact was made with Louis Merrick. So that's obviously bent a bit of, not necessarily metalwork, but possibly plastic onto the tyre. And how long will the Michelin tyre last, considering they've been designed for 25-minute sprint racing? So there's a little bit of smoke from that front left tyre as all the weight moved forward as he slowed for the first corner. These 2 cars with a similar livery are the 38 and 37 of Romain Favre and William Gosselin. So they're now heading downhill out of turn 5 and through the kink at 6. We've only had 7 minutes of that. It feels like a lot longer, and plenty of racing action continuing. Massive ding in the door for Louis Merrick, who is now down in 14th position.
Yeah, it's really being pushed and shoved. Another driver who was at the front end yesterday, number 4, Leo Jousset. We said he might be a driver coming forward in this race from 5th or 6th on the grid. He is down with Louis Merrick. Both have the capability to come up the order, but what we have is the breakaway at the front. Then it's unbelievably close in behind from effectively 4th place down. Laurent Richard, the leading Gentleman Cup driver, but just small mistakes have really, really cost Enzo Garacci down to 6th place. Best lap of the race last time around. Race leader Laurence Lessertois. Now 2.5 seconds clear. Car 41 off into the dirt. Anthony Fournier. Now he's the driver who was trying to tie up the Gentleman Cup class, and he's sitting facing the wrong way, going nowhere. So somehow Laurent Richard has done the heavy running. He's gone up to the front of the field to 5th place overall. And his championship rival, it may be going to Paul Ricard in the Gentleman Cup class.
That is between turns 9 and 10. So in the final sector, Fournier has come to a halt. Also plenty of trim now trailing from the rear of Ethan Bernard's car. So Jules Goujon has already got by that 86 machine, which is shedding bits of bodywork. Rear trim trailing from the left-hand side of the car, after various other competitors have had a nibble, I think, in the early stages. As then towards turn 4 goes the scrap for 4th, 5th and 6th positions, with Garacci still trying to improve. It's Laurent Richard who stands in his way.
Right, we've got 5 runners in the Gentleman Cup class, and I think Anthony Fournier needs only to finish 5th. He's got back in his car. He's maybe going on to do that. He's got out, done the maths, and got back on board. Laurent Richard is doing all he can, running in 5th overall. What an amazing race he's had. But the busiest part of the track is around about 10th place. You can see the cars 2, 3 abreast. The bright yellow nose of Jules Goujon car. At least it's in place today. At the end of yesterday's racing, it was hanging low after a little bit of front-on contact. He'll be the next driver trying to pass the car that's got the tail hanging loose off its rear, so look out for him as he's waking his way forward. But the first two are not home and hosed. We've still got plenty of time left in this race. Still got 15 and a bit minutes plus the extra lap at the end. So it's Laurent Le Sautoir from Thibaut Bossy, another nearly 3 seconds back to Tim Merrier, who drove so well from 6th up to 4th to 5th, 3rd, moved around, and he's now cemented 3rd place.
As these cars round turn 10, I noticed from stage right, Anthony Fournier starting to reverse towards these cars that are trying to slow down. He obviously does desperately want to get back in the race to score those valuable points that you've been talking about, but he needs to be careful to make sure he rejoins safely. Also some door banging from Leo Jousset and the recovering Louis Méric. They were side by side on the approach to turn 5. They are now single file with Méric dropping in behind the 04 car, and Garazzi still turning the screw on Laurent Richard. Nothing between those two cars, less than half a second as they cross the line, but Garazzi in the 136 is still in 6th position. Goujon to the inside, and that is Mateo Herrero that he's fighting with, and Herrero briefly going back in front, Bruce.
Yeah, another little battle we need to talk about is the Challenger Cup class. That's for those who aren't in the Junior class or the Gentleman Cup, and it really was Adrien Catalan's race to take the championship with a round still to go. He just effectively had to finish, but he's in 4th place, having risen right up the order. But his only challenger is Thibaut Bossy, who's running in 2nd place, so they're showing their form, but really doing the maths. Catalan just simply has to finish, but he's going to finish with a great deal of pride, both those drivers having come up in that first second lap sort out.
So Goujon bouncing around as he came out of turn 4, catching a bit more curb than he would have wished, I reckon. Now separating the scrap that was involving Favre and Gosselin. So Mateo Herrero's got in front, and now to the wrong side of the road goes Goujon in the yellow and white car. He's going to get caught out there because someone on his inside, still trying to work out precisely who that was.
Gosselin.
Gosselin. So... oh no, the white car, number 24, it's a recovering Méric, is it not? So Louis Méric, who is gaining ground, and there on the inside of the 04 is Leo Jousset. So it feels like those who've had a terrible start to this race are now finding those that are steadily working their way up the order as well. But more and more body parts of the 24 car starting to be cut adrift.
Certainly are. When you're running in a 6-car bunch, one little guess where you picked a side of a car to go and you suddenly find it's not happening, you see the loss of momentum it's cost. Goujon certainly 24 is running with that front end damage. Louis Méric, that will not be helping. And those around, it's nose to tail stuff through the final corner, up over the rise onto the start finish straight and getting the slipstream. And of course, without that chicane now, you have a much longer run from turn 13 through the final corner all the way down to turn 1. Not much happens at turn 1, right?
No, just ask Louis Méric, who's the 3rd car in this train. They were all over on the right-hand side of the circuit, halfway down the start finish straight, then to the more natural racing line. As now the 04 of Leo Jousset, who had a good race yesterday to finish in the top 6. Again, has a quicker car than 14th, I would suggest, but he just cannot make his way through the traffic.
Yeah, these cars, absolutely wonderful cars. Engine mounted just behind the driver, so really mid-engine. The balance is fantastic. 300 horsepower. They're light, they're nimble, they're powerful. But what you do see, they're quite very good at slipstreaming down this long straight, much longer than before. No one's lengthened the straight, but with the run down without that final chicane, it does mean you can learn the art of slipstreaming down to turn 1. Then you've got to be brave, because turn 1, as we know, turns to the right, and almost immediately turn 2 takes you to the left. So you get slightly the wrong line, it may not work now, but not yet for Jules Goujon. So much progress yesterday. Today it's just proving a little bit harder, and now a little mistake from the driver in front, which is William Gosselin. I did check out to find out whether he was the 3rd generation of racing Gosselin, but not racing to Claude-Yves Gosselin and his father, who raced at Le Mans in the 1960s.
Méric got Goujon there through turn 9, so despite the car not travelling through the air as efficiently as those around it, just look at the state of it, for goodness sake, it has actually managed to get ahead of Jules Goujon. Goujon had to get out of the throttle because Gosselin's mistake, and then ready to pounce was the off-white number 24 car. Now taking a look at the 29 of Mateo Herrero, who has behind him the 86 of Ethan Bernard, and also involved Romain Favre too. So they're about to cross the line. I haven't mentioned Enzo Guerazzi is now up to 5th position. He'd been chiselling away at Laurent Richard's car and now stretching his legs. So there is Richard in the number 23 car, slipping down to 6th place as we've got just over 11 minutes to go.
Every time we look at these grouping of cars, you can tell they're delaying each other. Just a little momentum lost here or there, place change, and it's unfortunate for the driver of 86. He's going backwards. Ethan Bernard just picked off by Romain Favre there, down into turn 1, maybe not starting to fight it anymore. But when you're running in clear air, you can set really good lap times. But when you're running 2-3 abreast, you can see every lap in the heat of competition, drivers losing a bit of ground. So the front few runners, they're laughing, big smiles on their faces. Now nearly 3.5 seconds clear. Laurence Lestatois leading the race, trying to make it 4 wins out of 5 races, which will bring his tally up to 6 for the whole season so far. Very impressive.
Good lap from Lucas Papin there as well in the 0.8, 7th position, and a 154.6 is a personal best for Lucas. This 4-car train, you still can't separate, headed by William Gosselin with Louis Méric looking for a way by. Merrick's best opportunity probably into the first corner or as they get to the kink at turn 7. It's far more than a kink, it's a heavy braking and turn left. And there is the Enzo Guerazzi car now up to 5th position with Adrien Catalan in the distance. He's about equidistant now between Richard and Catalan. But I think a podium is slipping through his fingers here as Tim Merrieux is a further 3.6 seconds up the road. So that top 3 order looking reasonably solid at the moment, particularly for Laurence Lestatois, who's fashioned nearly a 3.5-second race lead, looking like great points again for the young Spaniard.
Right, 5-second time penalty added to driver 24. That's Louis Méric. He's down in 12th position. That's for the clash with Enzo Guerazzi at turn 1. So he was adjudged to have driven across the nose, presumably, of Guerazzi there. That's the decision. So what's turned a good day to a bad day has turned it back into properly bad day. In fact, as we say that, Gosselin is picked off by Louis Méric, but he's not the sort of driver who wants to start 6th, get up to 3rd place, and fall back down to outside the top 10, moving up to 11th place, but he'll no doubt have to learn a few lessons from this race. The stewards have spoken. Other incidents under investigation.
I have a feeling that may run a little more yet, and we may have further news on the incident, perhaps after the end of the race. There's another incident now being investigated, which was the collision between 87 and 38. So those are the... I'm looking for 87.
Well, he's dropped out of the race, Romain Brun.
course.
So that was turn 4. We saw him limping up the hill from turn 8 to turn 9, so the damage done 4 corners earlier. That's the tight right-hander.
But only noted, rather than under investigation, the other car involved with that, Romain Favre, as now it's side-by-side at turn 5 for this same group of cars. So was that Méric getting through? Yeah, in car 24. He's now at the head of this little battle pack. So William Gosselin slipping behind. The other loser within this has been Jules Goujon. For one time, he was in front of this 4-car train, and Leo Jousset has made progress too.
Well, just looking at the progress on the very wet track yesterday evening for Jules Goujon, it's almost though his car is still set up for those conditions. He just doesn't seem to have the speed, which he had in abundance yesterday. But just look at these groups. Doesn't matter if you're in the top 10, the top 4. Some of these drivers are getting more overtaking in this race than some people manage an entire season. The circuit sort of lends itself to these cars, 14 turns, plenty of twists, but many, many moments where you make a bid and you lose your momentum, even with 300 horsepower. That's where the slipstreaming comes in, but towards the end of the lap, they're still trying to get into position to sweep on the start-finish straight. Someone just reporting to the pits there.
Yes, ahead of this pack on the road, so someone's going to lose some ground.
It's Mateo Herrera. It was a white car, and it's just confirmation has come up. That car was carrying a little bit of front corner damage. Now we've got a spinner car 77. That's Alain Giacono, one of the 2 drivers who didn't get to take the rolling start yesterday. As the field was released, they'd been around behind the safety car for a while. He didn't quite negotiate turn 14, the final corner, approached it backwards and parked up. But there is Mateo Herrera coming in, obviously, to retire his car.
Yeah, because the nature of a sprint race, even if you spend any time in the pits, that is a chance of a good result gone. So 3 cars now circulating that have gained a spot, actually. The 4 that we were concentrating on were all behind Herrero. So it must have been a serious problem. Otherwise, he would have stayed out and just lived with it. We're about to complete the 10th lap, and that's as far as we got yesterday. Further progress being made by Laurence Lestatois. He's got the lead up to 4.2 seconds. Tim Merrieux, though, is he possibly catching Thibaut Bossy? last time, yeah, gained 0.2 of a second on him as Jules Goujon trying to use the double toe out of turn 5 and the kink at 6, looking for a way underneath Leo Jousset, but Jousset controls the car well through that left-hander and onward towards turn 9. But it's no longer a scrap involving 4 cars, just the 3 there, and that is for 11th, 12th and 13th positions.
It might as well be for the lead, the way they're fighting, having a fabulous time out on the circuit. Just to clarify a little bit about the Gentleman Cup class, with Laurent Richard, he got up to that 4th place from down towards, I think he started 13th on the grid. He's falling back a little bit, but he is, by doing this, he's leading the Gentleman Cup class. He's keeping it going until the final round. We saw Anthony Fournier, who could have almost, if he'd won the class today, he would have taken the title, but he went off the circuit. He got back into his car, and he's going to circulate, but it means their battle will be sorted out at the final round, the 2 races at Port-Ricard. All eyes on the front, though, from pole position, Laurence Lessartois pulling comfortably clear with every further lap, under no pressure, and he's about to make it 4 wins from the past 5 rounds. But we still have 5 and a bit minutes, plus 1 extra lap thereafter to complete the second of the 2 races here at Barcelona.
William Gosselin, Leo Jousset were swapping paints as they ended the previous lap. They were about to almost did the same again on the run down to the first corner, to the high line again. Leo Jousset needs to be cautious of where Jules Goujon is putting the nose of his car, number 35, but this was the paint trading heading towards turn 12, and it was the 0-4 trying to gain the spot, but very forceful driving from Gosselin fended Jousset off.
And so 1 car with the loose rear bodywork and 1 with loose bodywork at the front. Laurence Lessartois, clear gap between him and the best of the rest of this race. 4 and a bit seconds. In fact, he lost a tiny bit of his advantage that time around, but all eyes on this battle. You can see car 37 being pushed very hard indeed. Just outside the top 10, that's William Gosselin. Leo Jousset tucked in behind 0-4 on his front and rear windscreens. And Jules Goujon, I sort of feel will pick something up, but at the moment he just doesn't seem to have the pace. The 2 slightly damaged cars are just running lines that are just wide enough to keep that yellow-tailed car at the back of the pack, but an enticing scrap all the same. And up the hill they go. Is it going to be a change of position up the inside? It was a line he took yesterday. Jules Goujon couldn't make it happen. Over the crest at turn 9 and then down the infield straight. Maybe, just maybe, someone will make a move into the right-hander. Sorry, let's go left-hander at turn 10.
Here we go. 0-4 from a long way back. Jousset then just testing the water, but he's actually spooked Gosselin a little bit, and Gosselin will desperately now get back to the racing line to make sure that Goujon doesn't gain a place either. In the end, he did okay there, did give up 1 position, but not the 2 in 1 move. And as long as Goujon can't slip up the inside at turn 13, all not quite lost there, although bear in mind we are dealing with cars outside the top 10 here. The other battle I'm very intrigued by is Lucas Papin versus Romain Favre, because Favre, as we get to the second phase of the race, or deep into it, in fact, is much faster than the 0-8, and Favre would love to finish in the top 6. There's a junior little battle there going on then, as out of turns 1 and 2, again, more bodywork trailing from these 3 cars, but the gap starting to emerge. Caught a brief sight there of the 23 of Laurent Richard, and there are the 3 that we've been talking about. Final one of that little pack is the yellow and white of Jules Goujon heading through shot. 3 minutes to go.
Interesting, when the cars come down the main straight and that infield straight between turns 9 and 10, of course, there's slipstreaming, but when you're right very close to rivals, you do seem to delay yourself just a little bit. So anybody who's setting their quickest lap at the moment, as the fuel load goes down in this 25-minute sprint race, they're in clear air, they're on their own, because just behind the battle between Papin and Favre, Ethan Bernard set his best lap last time around, tail end of the top 10, he's in 8th overall, but he is now coming onto the tail of this grouping. So there is Bernard just off the left-hand side of the screen, 8th and closing, but then he'll get in their air, and then maybe, just maybe, he'll have time to make a move. But we have to see through the course of this race how precise you need to be, but some fantastic scrapping in these groups of cars.
0-8 still running in 6th position. So this is the Papin and Favre battle that I so wanted to see. And also the car in behind, number 86, Ethan Bernard, is involved as well. He's just done the fastest lap of the race. So again, if, of course, these 2 18-year-olds, Papin and Favre, take one another off, or there's side-to-side contact, then Ethan Bernard could be the one really to capitalise. Much more expected lap times in the dry. So 155's the odd 154. It was tight as they crossed the line, but there'll be this next lap, one more, and then maybe the extra lap as well. So we've still got plenty of time to run, as now to the inside, Enzo Guarassi on the fourth place car of Adrian Catalan has been catching him for several laps, and that's the overtake he wanted at the first corner.
And Catalan made that easy, running in a different class. He's in the Challenger Cup class, and he should wrap it up today, just has to finish. So he thought, you know, fourth place, fifth place doesn't make a big difference to me overall, but the title would be quite nice to wrap it up before going to Manicourt to the final round. So a very wise move from Adrian Catalan. They're pulling a little bit wide on the entrance to turn one. Up the inside went Enzo Guarassi. So it's been a really up and down race for Guarassi in the 136, but he's making it sweet at the end. But all along, Laurens Lessatois is reeling the laps out. He's not pulling away as much anymore, not fully on it. He's just comfortable in the lead of the race, but all the way down the field. In fact, there's hardly another car that isn't having a scrap with someone else. 85 and 21, you know, down the order a little bit. That's, in fact, Thibaut Bossi being caught by Tim Merrieux. That's second and third position. So the last few laps have been much better for the chaser, Merrieux. Does he fancy a chance? The white car with the blue and red, the tricolor colours down the infield straight to turn number 10. But I sort of think Thibaut Bossi's fought so hard to get towards the front end of the field that he will stay there in second place, surely, for Herrero Racing.
It's a little Herbie-esque, that livery, isn't it? I want it to run as 53 rather than number 21, and he's going to go for a move up the inside of turn 12. So are they going to be two abreast for the final few corners of this lap? Only 12 seconds left on the clock, and it will be a great overtake from Tim Merrieux, as long as he can keep it on the road. It was feinting from left to right and could very nearly have spun off into the gravel there, but Thibaut Bossi, in fairness, gave him racing room. As they cross the line, now then, was the clock at zero or not quite for Laurens Lessatois? It's important because we've either got this as the final lap or this one and one more.
And what was so hard there, the start-finish line is absolutely on the crest of the hill, so we couldn't see whether he'd cleared it before coming over the ridge there. But Laurens Lessatois, 4 seconds, and over now 5.3 seconds clear, because the battle between Tim Merrieux getting past Thibaut Bossi, there it is, the confirmation of those place changes has delayed them a little bit. In fourth and fifth places, we've got Enzo Guarassi and Adrian Catalan not fighting each other anymore, because Catalan was quite happy to move aside and let the championship, overall championship challenger Enzo Guarassi go through. But nobody has an answer, and what I think, I'm fairly sure this is now the final lap, still waiting for confirmation. Laurens Lessatois, car number 11, he's hit a rich vein of form, won the opening race, the first round of the championship in Nogaro back at the start of April, but has really hit a sweet spot going through summer into late summer here in Spain.
So, yeah, the middle portion of the lap is done in splendid isolation for Laurens Lessatois, turns 7, 8 and 9, and he has that short straight between 7 and 9 to look in the mirrors and think, where is everybody? Because the second place fight has rather delayed Tim Merrieux and Thibaut Bossi. Enzo Guarassi left himself a bit too much to do with that 4-second margin to try and get onto the overall podium. But, and the more galling thing for Guarassi is we're running out of races now, and again, he hasn't had the chance to outscore Laurens Lessatois here in Barcelona. So, will there be a checkered flag flown in the direction of car 11 this time around? He's got the penultimate corner and now heading into turn 14. Looking down towards the starting gantry.
No flag to be seen as yet, so he may have just squeaked onto the bonus lap after the 25-minute race duration. It's 25 minutes plus one further lap. Across the start-finish line he goes. Yes, this is now the final lap. Race 2 here at Barcelona. So just by dint of being just too fast, he's made an extra lap.
Well, maybe that was always secretly the plan, to force one more lap out of it, and as long as he doesn't let his concentration wane, then he can enjoy this as a celebratory lap, effectively, with a 5, nearly 6-second lead. Still plenty of scrapping, though, down the middle order as the 08 car starts to worm around under the control of Lucas Papat. Brakes won't necessarily... Oh, drama here again, similar to yesterday. Jules Goujon in the pit lane for the number 35, and after contact in Friday's race, that front bumper became loose, and it's almost like I'm watching a replay.
It is far looser today, but he was one who didn't want the extra bonus lap there at the end, if it could have been squeaked in. But Goujon quick, but he's been in the war twice, yesterday and here today, so all part of the learning process. Up front, though, all under control by Laurence Lessertois. Still a few battles, but we've seen people spend many a lap looking here, looking there, not quite making it work. But so much overtaking. But this battle between number 8 Lucas Papin and Romain Favre, two of the junior racers, learning as they go.
Right over the curb there. You don't want to be doing that too often, certainly in a more longer distance race that we've got later on today and tomorrow. Yeah, the sausage curb can sometimes bounce your car back into line if you've got a little bit of a tank slapper on. Lessertois has been way off that, though, so to not stress the Michelin tyres. And Laurence Lessertois feeling like he's raced here for years. Actually, up until last year, he was mainly doing karting and the odd F4 France race, but now at 16 years old, making a real ploy for the championship in the 2023 Alpine Europa Cup, because it's another victory for the young 16-year-old of Spain/Belgium. And Chazelle Technology Course Junior will get more championship points to their cause as well. 5.1 seconds the winning margin from Tim Mérieux and Thibaut Bossy, who were hard at it throughout the course of the race. Bossy eventually losing second position to Mérieux after a great overtake. And then Enzo Garassi, up and down affair, finishing in 4th position, though, in the 136 car ahead of Adrien Catalan, Lucas Papin and Romain Favre. In fact, Favre and Ethan Bernard separated by less than a second as they cross the line in 6th, 7th and 8th places.
Now, a few drivers being hit with further 5-second penalties, but no one troubling the front few cars. Car 87, the driver of that is Romain Brun. He retired. He's been given a 5-second penalty, so matters not to him. And the driver of car number 41, Anthony Fournier, the driver who was leading the gentleman class, he gets a 5-minute penalty. Bear in mind, he did more than that himself by going off the circuit at turn 10, getting out of the car, then getting back in. But the gentleman cup class won in eventually 10th place overall, a yo-yo race for Laurent Richard, but that keeps that championship battle for the gentleman class going to the final round at Magny-Cours. But hats off absolutely to Laurence Lessertois, textbook drive from him. And Tim Mérieux up and down the order comes into 2nd place, and as you say, Thibaut Bossy in 3rd. But importantly for Enzo Garassi, the race that started going wrong at the first corner on the opening lap, he lost ground, had a collision, but he's come through to take 4th place, so he stays in the hunt. But the difference between 1st and 4th is 10 points, so the margin now out to 27. We'll check for fastest laps, possibly 28 points in the favour of Laurence Lessertois.
And there'll be 44 points still available in the final couple of races at Circuit Paul Ricard, Le Castellet, south coast of France, for the finale of their championship. And those races due to take place over the weekend of the 7th and 8th of October. So we're, about 3 weeks away from that and the championship deciders, but still very open to have one championship decided yesterday. Challengers title confirmed for Adrien Catalan. But otherwise, everything will go to the final round. And when you consider we've had as many, or we will have had as many as 12 races, that's a nice way that the points have been organised to keep everything alive for as long as possible.
It certainly is. And actually, it was a 12-point game for Laurence Lessertois because he got the bonus point for pole. The bonus point, I've just double-checked, for fastest lap of the race. Very impressive, 1 minute 53.4 second lap. Only one other driver getting under 1 minute 54, and that was the driver Tim Mérieux. Had up-and-down race, 6th to 3rd, back down to about 6th, back to 2nd. So he's really, truly on form. But right now, it's Laurence Lessertois who coming in to come to a halt, as he does right now. There it is, the yellow, white and blue Charger car number 11 for another win. Up into 2nd place, number 21, Tim Mérieux. And the 3rd car coming in the background should be Thibaut Bossy, the leading runner in the Challenger class who ran fleetingly up in 2nd place, but had a really good run. But there was delight yesterday, Johnny, for Laurence Lessertois. He looks no less happy this morning.
Different challenge today. Yesterday, much of the race was taken out of the hands of Laurence Lessertois and everybody else to have so much of it run behind the safety car. The clock starting to tick by as soon as the safety car headed away from the dummy grid yesterday. And it's a question of being patient, ready to go whenever it was necessary, and then testing conditions. He didn't quite know how much grip there would be from one corner to the next. This was a more predictable race, I suppose you could say. However, that's where qualifying is so important, to get a good getaway, and Laurence Lessertois certainly did that. 15 laps in the book, 5.1 seconds the margin, and he kept out of trouble because he was so far in front from that front row as well. Tim Mérieux did gain progress, getting ahead eventually of Thibaut Bossy to finish in 2nd place for Autosport GP, ahead of the Herrero Racing pilot. Then Enzo Garassi, who slipped as far back as 6th position, but back up to 4th. Adrien Catalat, who is the new Challenger champion. That confirmed in the race just now. Lucas Papin, Romain Favre and Ethan Bernard, 6th, 7th and 8th as one finishing. And then Louis Méric with that damage after contact with Gerassi's car ahead of Laurent Richard. Leo Jousset, William Gosselin, Frédéric de Bobin and Pierre Mackie completed the 14. And through we go to the second page. Sami Dari for VPS Racing ahead of Pierre-Laurent Figuer and Alain Jacono. Jules Goujon was higher up than that, but late in the day, damage to the front. We don't quite know how that was incurred, but he finished the race in the pit lane. Anthony Fournier was off the road for a long time at turn 10, ahead of Mateo Herrero, who headed for the pits. Romain Brune, who hit dramas early on, and sadly for Margot Verser, for the second day running, she could not start the race. And we'll look back on 25 minutes of cut and thrust Alpine Elf Europa Cup action. Seventh and 8th of October for the final races of their season. And there we have confirmation, Friday the 6th through till Sunday the 8th of October for the grand finale of the Alpine Elf Europa Cup, where we will be crowning a brand new champion in this wonderful series. Hope you've enjoyed two very different races from their championship this weekend at Barcelona. My thanks to Bruce Jones. From Johnny Palmer, signing off then from the Barcelona-Catalunya circuit, and looking forward very much to the final race in France in a few weeks' time.